money is a tool, and it's all dependent on how you use it. Being able to manage whatever money that you get so that you don't go into debt. It's all about managing. Live within your means and don't fall into the comparison trap.
Right. Okay.
That's what gets a lot of people these days, old and young alike.
No, for real. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Know Your Rights Camp podcast. I'm your host, Aicha Sacko, and I'm with my great friend, TJ, who's joining me today.
Hello, hello.
We also have another guest joining us. We have Moncy Hawkins. Do you want to say hi?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. She's been in
for being
accounting
here.
for 20 years, right?
Yes, accounting finance for 20 years.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us, like, right now, what is it that you do to kind of help us understand your career and exactly why you chose it?
Okay, yeah. So I was in corporate accounting for 20 years. I resigned in 2015, and then I started my company, Fig Restoration, which is a credit consulting firm. So I help individuals with credit, also financial literacy, credit education. And so that's my calling, and that's what I do day in and day out.
Right. And so would you say, has it been harder for you kind of adjusting to like because you've been in accounting for 20 years now, would you say accounting, or would you prefer like what you're doing now?
For sure what I'm doing now.
Okay.
The process was, because I'm living my dream.
It's your own business.
I was able to take the limits off of corporate, and so I'm free to do as I please. And so it's all about helping. Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, what is the difference between like the corporate world to where you're at now? Like, why did you make that change?
So after my oldest graduated from high school, she's 27 now.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted to just do something before I passed away. I wanted to make my mark in this world. And I wanted to do something that would help individuals that looked more like me growing up. I didn't come from a lot. And so I know the challenges of having good finances, having credit, and I know how it can stall us in life.
Right.
So I committed to doing that, and now I work with individuals. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are trying to get to that next level, and
Nice.
I am curious because your career in itself, I know it could be very difficult, especially for a woman who looks like you. So what were the challenges that you face?
In corporate or now?
Good question.
Yeah, corporate now. What?
Both.
Yeah.
Both? Okay. So one of is them taking me serious. I'm a Black female. I've never looked as old as I am. So that's another thing. You walk into rooms, you're talking about money, you're talking about finances, and they're looking at you like, what history do you have?
Right.
How can you talk to us about this? So that's one of the things. When I was in corporate, now with my own firm, I deal with lending institutions. And sometimes when I'm going in, I have to show them how serious it is, because you have to understand I'm taking individuals who may not have certain opportunities, and I have to speak on behalf of them. And so sometimes I have to be very strong in my presentation to let them know, no, we're serious. This is what these clients need, and what can you all do to help them? I mean, we've done everything we're supposed to do. Why are they being turned down? Why should we use you? Why should we continue to come to you and we're not getting the help that we need from a financial standpoint?
Right. So we're here for the Know Your Rights Camp, right? So could you tell us and the audience what's going to be on your presentation? What do you want to teach the students, and what are going to be their takeaways from when you're done with your presentation?
Okay. So of course they are going to get some financial literacy. They're going to know important terms. Talking about income, talking about wealth, because as they take this into life, they need to know. They need to know now. And you'll really be surprised at how much they already know. But it's just about adding that icing on the cake, making sure they have a really good understanding. So as we jump into, income, wealth, debt, all of that, it's really important that now that you know these terms, how do we use it in society? And so that's where we start talking a little bit about, capital racism and things like that, capitalism, and just to help them bridge the gap. It starts in your home. One of the things that I teach my kids is, even though you didn't come from where I came from, you are stepping out into the world with a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more experience. But although you have this knowledge and you have this experience in terms of you have bank accounts, you have good credit at 18, 19, 20, when you go out into the world, they're not always going to look at you and say, the door is open because you have this. You have to understand how to utilize what you now have with the different resources, programs. And then, of course, I can open the door for you, but it doesn't stop with me. We pass it on to the next generations.
Love that. Absolutely. So if we're talking about the mind of a high schooler, because we're going to have 13 through 18 in the building, what's something that they can do now to set them up for success financially? What do you think?
Understanding how to be responsible with their finances. You know, whether you get money from your job, if you have a job, or whether you get money from your parents.
Right.
Understanding how to do that, how to budget.
Yeah.
How to budget. That's one of the biggest lessons in my house.
So could you, so I'm 22, right?
Oh, okay.
My sister was the one who told me to start saving. And I just graduated from college. I was on a full ride, and because I was on a full ride, I would get refund checks because, you know, the funding that I got was over. So she was like, take that money and put it into your savings. But my thing is, we're not taught that in school, in like our community. So I was going to ask you, like, do you think that's important for us to be learning like savings, credit, all these things? Because I'm just now learning, and I'm turning 23 soon. So I can only imagine what people who are growing up having to being introduced to this for the first time and being like, what is going on?
It's very important. It should start in the home with parents. Parents, if you don't understand, you go out and get the education. And this is why I do what I do. This is why it's really important that on a weekly basis, I'm teaching credit education. I'm teaching them about finances, because it starts at home. My daughter is 23. I mean, when she was 23, she was able to qualify for her first home. But I hammer from elementary, they're learning different skills and yeah,
amazing.
Absolutely. It's really important.
So if you could give, like, for the people listening right now, if you can give them a tip on finance, like one of the best tip that they should walk through life with, like, what would be that tip? Whether it's about savings, it's about credit, it's about bridging the wealth gap, what would be that tip? I need it.
Understanding that money is a tool, and it's all dependent on how you use it. Being able to manage whatever money that you get so that you don't go into debt. It's all about managing. Live within your means and don't fall into the comparison trap.
Right. Okay.
That's what gets a lot of people these days, old and young alike.
No, for real.
Social media. Yeah, social media will have you, and that's where it spirals
Seeing
out of control.
someone live one lifestyle that you want, and you're trying to attain it, and so you're trying to spend this money to live that lifestyle that don't fit for you, and now you in a position where you can't even afford your rent or something. So I completely understand that, and that's something I had to learn because I love to travel. I really, truly do. And it's more so like a mindset thing for me, but it's expensive. So like I have to save for me to go on this trip, but I also have to make sure that I have money for when I come back. Like I can't just, try. So if there's like, in terms of bridging that, let's talk about bridging the wealth gap, right? Because we do talk about that. What's the guide to kind of fit bridging the wealth gap? Like, is there any advice or any laws or policies that we should take a look on to kind of help bridge that gap?
It varies based on each individual. I believe that in order to bridge that, it first starts with education. It does. Yeah. It does, because if you don't have the education, you won't know which direction to go.
Right.
Also, utilize resources. There are so many resources out here that teaches you. The CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I love that website because it helps you. You as an adult, a child can go there and they can learn different ways to earn income, different ways that you can make money, through investments, all of that. All of those things work together. And then, of course, aligning with the right people, the right group of peers.
What's the website?
It's called the CFPB.
.com?
.gov, yeah.
.gov.
And is there going to be like any activities for the students to do when they're at the camp, or is it more so like you're kind of just giving them like pamphlets or paperwork and kind of just explaining to them how certain things work?
So because I'm going to be on the stage speaking, right? It is more of a call to action. It is a response because when you let them respond and jump into it, we learn so much. We figure out what it is that they need to know, because as adults, sometimes I don't care how much you think you're in tune with them. You have to hear from them on what they don't know, what they want to hear, and then you give it to them in a way that they understand it. So it's going to be participation.
Love that.
High energy participation.
I love that. One of my last questions before we wrap up, I want to ask you, one of the most important things about this camp is the students, the first thing when they come in and say is like, well, I don't know this and I don't know that. But by the time they leave, it's like, well, I just learned this and I'm going to move. So what is that one thing that you want for those kids to learn and take away so that they like, as a child, because I feel like me as a child, I always remember things when it's like very important. So what is the one thing as a student who's watching you, what's that one information you want them to say, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm going to keep in mind.
I want them to know that they have the power to dictate what their future life will be concerning, not just their finances, but their life. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you've been through. I come from a poverty.
Right.
And I was able to, against all odds, make my life better. And they have that. And they need to understand that there's people that's rooting for them. They can do it.
That is possible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
You're
talking
welcome.
with us.
Thank
We
you for having
appreciate you,
me.
and we cannot wait
Yep.
to see what you
Excited.
teach them, because I'm going to be learning too. Okay, so I'll be
Yes.
on the side.
Have our notepads.
Yes, but thank you for joining us. We wish you all the best. And of course, to our viewers, make sure you're following us on our Instagram at Your Rights Camp, and make sure you are going to our website at knowyourrightscamp.org.
Also, be sure to download the Know Your Rights Camp app, available at every app store. Thanks for tuning in.